have our sister here that's going to kind of break down the differences where a lot of African immigrants, have just an issue with understanding racism, especially when they get here, and why they make some comments about Black Americans in that sense. And a lot of it is just a lack of education and really just not knowing America and what it really is. But let's go ahead and roll what our sister has to say, and I definitely want to follow behind that.
African immigrants do not view racism the same way as Black Americans because we are looking at it from two completely different perspectives. Africans grew up in majority Black nations with Black culture, Black leadership, and Black everything being the norm on a day-to-day basis. It's not the core part of their identity because everyone is majority Black when they look around. Black is the default. So off rip, they are not looking at things through a racial lens. But Black people in America look at everything through a racial lens because we are the minority in a country that was built off of our oppression. And the entire system was designed not only to exclude us, but to capitalize off of that exclusion. So systemic oppression is the struggle that Black Americans are dealing with on the home front. Struggles that people are dealing with in Africa are due to a failing or underdeveloped system. Poverty, corruption, lack of opportunity, economic instability, which is really the legacy of colonialism and neocolonialism. So in their minds, they see America as having a functioning system. They see America as full of opportunity compared to back in Africa. So they come here and they focus on individual advancement, where Black Americans see the system as being historically and currently rigged against us. We are not immigrants. We are people from whom system was explicitly built to oppose. They often see racism as individual prejudice, personal act of meanness or ignorance that can be overcome or ignored on their path to success, where Black people understand that it is systemically embedded feature of law, institution, and economic that create a barrier far beyond individual prejudice. And I think a lot of the disagreement comes from not understanding what something means to be systemic. When something is systemic, a pattern behavior or a culture that is repetitive that many people are perpetuating. Because there are many people in America who are racist and have anti-Black sentiment, and they encompass various positions and roles in America, it makes racism systemic. The system is not a machine, but the individuals who make up the machine. Since so many people are racist, the issue is systemic. They have embedded their personal prejudices into the system. Not only that, are passing down this ideology to their offspring, which makes it more systemic. Anyways, so because of the hurdles that they faced back home, they often see what Black Americans go through as trivial or frivolous or not as hard as compared to what they went through back home. That's where the ideology that Black Americans are lazy comes from, because they face national systemic instability in their homelands. But what they are not understanding is that what Africa is going through is a core function of systemic racism. It is systemic racism on a global scale. Systemic instability for Black Americans is internal. It's redlining, it's mass incarceration, it's police brutality, it's education inequity. But for Africa, it's the deliberate underdevelopment of the entire continent that is primarily populated by Black people. It's the European powers carving up the continent with no regards for ethnic, linguistic, or cultural boundaries, and the creation of artificial nations primed for internal conflict. It's the exploitation used by Western corporations and financial institutions like IMF and the World Bank, pillaging resources and dictating economic policy through debt. This is economic racism on a global scale.
As you stated, they have grown up in a location where everybody's Black like them. So since everybody's Black like them, they look at, well, the people that's done me the worst is my own people, right? But what they don't understand that really the people that's doing them bad is they politicians, and they politicians a lot of times is controlled by the Western system. And as long as they are selling them out, giving them some access to resources, they'll pay for the politicians up. And this is why certain development don't happen. This is why some of the countries look the way they look. But then you look at a place like Burkina Faso, where, Captain Traore, like, nah, we don't need y'all over here no more. France, get out. Everybody, Mali kicked them out, Niger kicked them out. Look what's happening to France right now. They're literally about to go bankrupt because the African continent kicked them out. You understand what I'm saying? And so when it comes to, unless you got countries like that and leaders like that, a lot of them are sold out to the Western world. Then they feel like they got to run, come over here to America. And then, as the sister said, they say, well, Black Americans are lazy because look at all this opportunity over here. Why they aren't making it or whatever. And they don't understand our history. They don't understand, how many towns we built, how much millions upon millions of acres of land we had, and all of it was stolen from us for the most part. All of it. Destroyed our business districts, stolen homes from us. They don't know anything like that. They only come over here and look at it in the present. They don't understand systemic racism because remember, they didn't grow up in a system of racism. Now, later down the line, they'll get a wake-up call about racism. Now, this system don't mind if an African immigrant become quote-unquote successful. And I don't know, if you're defining success as an education and a job, that's not success. I would never view that as success. And the reason why I don't view that as success, because if someone is controlling your job, they can fire you. That's the bottom line. And because they can fire you, you got to be careful. You just got to be careful. The business can go bad, whatever. Success is financial freedom. Now, it's okay to have a great career, but at least have a career that if you lose one job, you can go get another one tomorrow. That's the kind of career you want to have, right? Financial freedom. You're not bothering nobody. You got land. You got all that. But here's the issue. The smart African immigrant would get all the paper he can over here, ship it back over there, build his home up, buy all the land he want, set some businesses up where he can live over there, and then return back to the African continent and live like a king. That's what he should do. Or have a system where he got create a business here that he can just work remotely and then move over there and just live off of the American dollar, then he'll win. Outside of that, this system is not really meant for a lot of us to win. It's always to sabotage any of us. And a lot of them don't know about the sabotage. We know about it as Black Americans. So that's why sometimes I don't even listen to just immigrants that show up talking about this system, and then they think that joining with the Charlie Kirks of the world, joining with people like that will like help them or they can relate to them. And like they talking about you too. They actually talk about you worse than they talk about us. And they always find out later the hard way, or if they have some children here, then their kids will let them know how wrong they are, basically, because their kids going to experience this system for what it really is. You understand? And as time go along, this system don't like foreigners, especially if you are an African immigrant. They really don't like you. So not understanding racism or trying to individualize racism, that'll get you caught up real quick in America. And then when they get caught up, oh, Black Americans, my brothers, well, like, huh? You know what I'm saying? Like you should have came, as soon as you got here, you should have came hollered at your brothers, right? That way you can understand the country you're living in. Because a lot of Black Americans, when we go to different countries, the first thing we do a lot of times is go say, hey, let me go holler at a brother or sister over here so I can learn something. We don't avoid y'all. We surely don't go over there siding with the people that's against the people. We don't do that. So that's really what a lot of the issue is. But I'm a firm believer of, if you don't really know, just be quiet. Don't say much until you learn. And also they have to consider they wouldn't even be allowed to come in this country if it wouldn't be for Black Americans. And that alone should say, hey, you know what, between I need to learn the system and I wouldn't even have opportunity to be here unless Black Americans have fought, for me to be here, then those two things alone should make you say, you know what, let me give my Black American brothers and sisters so I can learn some things. Because anytime we hear some of y'all with this Charlie Kirk stuff or anything with these white Republicans and the way they talk about Black folk, and you cool with it, that's why people ask you where you from. Because most Black Americans are just not going to do that.